Hi, this is Randy, and in this video I'm going to be going over the predictive programming that's been communicated to us that pertains to the removal of Mr. Steph Curry. I'm also going to be showing you how important the number 38 is to his career, as well as the mathematical values associated with pi. Now I'm going to be starting with this interview, which was held on April 16th of 2021, a day in which I'll never forget because after watching the interview, I understood what the deal was. Now this is being held because Mr. Curry became the all-time leading scorer for the Warriors in a game against the Nuggets on the 12th. And despite them having 2 games after that, they still held the interview on the 16th. The reason why they did so is because on this day, Mr. Curry is exactly 33 years and 33 days old. 33 being a very important sacrificial number. And as you see from the still shot in the interview, Mr. Curry's wearing a bright orange hoodie. And not only does orange in its proper context represent sacrifice, but it's the only color in Gematria that holds a value of 33. And if you doubt what I just presented, they doubled down on this in a game against the Pelicans on May 4th of 2021. And you may remember this game because when Mr. Curry got the ball in the third quarter, the lights went out. And I know a lot of people would want to write that off as a coincidence, but in all actuality, what it is communication as to what's to come. And again, Mr. Curry shows up to the post-game interview wearing a bright orange hoodie, as well as the Warriors' record after the game being 33 and 33. Now later in the video, I'm going to go over this logo here, which is just a 148. Just like in the game when the lights went out, there was 148 points. Now there was a video of a Grand Theft Auto game being promoted on May 6th of 2021 in the news. And it is of a character in the game that appears to be Mr. Steph Curry wearing a Curry jersey, getting shot and killed. And you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this? And if you watch the video, this guy to the right who's playing the game doesn't even crack a smile. And as the shooting transpires, there's a new follower that comes across the screen named Isaac the Goat, which is probably not a coincidence because in the Bible, Isaac is associated with sacrifice. Now, Wardell Curry is his real name, and in Gematria, Grand Theft Auto and his name have overlap, but in particular, this pairing of numbers here, 160 and 61, is very important, and I'm going to be going over that later in the video. There was a report that Steph hit a 97-yard eagle, and I'm just going to click over to Kobe Bean Bryant's last public appearance at a Lakers and Mavericks game, where he's wearing the same bright orange hoodie, but he's wearing a cap with an eagle on it. And I know everyone would want to write that off as a reference to the Philadelphia Eagles, a place in which he's from, but there's an esoteric meaning to it. Just like he's wearing the cap with the eagle on it, Steph is hitting the eagle. It's communication as to where they're going. Now, before I proceed further, I have to establish a foundation of why the number 38 is important and what it means. And you won't have to take my word for it because this is a movie poster straight from the entertainment industry for the movie Murder by Numbers. And as you can see in the title, the 3 takes place of the E here in murder, and the 8 takes place of the B in numbers, because the number 38 has a heavy relationship with death. And these are just 3 examples here below, RIP, murder, and death. They have a common denominator, and that is that they have a Gematria value of 38. Now for the context of this video and why it's important to Steph's career is because when you write out 38, you get these values that you see here in front of you. 149, 68, 148, and 58. And I'm going to go about showing you just how important these numbers are to his career. And as you can see already, he signed with Under Armour. And while they're not in the same ciphers, Under Armour has the same 4 values. To get into the numerical aspect of it, I'm going to be starting with this box score, which is from a game on April 13th of 2016. Some of you may remember this day as being Kobe Bryant's last day in the NBA, but it's also the day the Warriors picked up their 73rd regular season win, becoming arguably the greatest regular season team of all time, which is quite the accomplishment. But I'm going to show you just how important this day was to Steph as well. And just keep in mind, plenty of players have won multiple championships. None of them have done this. Now, Steph was actually born on the first day we started celebrating Pi Day on March 14th of 1988. It's just the first 3 digits of pi, 3.14, and the year 88 is like 4 circles. But from his actual date of birth to the date of the game, April 13th of 2016, you had a span of exactly 337 months. From his NBA debut on October 28th of 2009, you had a span of exactly 337 weeks. 337 is important because it is the 68th prime number, just like the value of 38 when written out in full reduction. Now, while the Warriors are picking up their 73rd win, Steph is scoring 46 in this game, and that pairing of numbers is important because those are the values of sacrifice in gematria. And while 73 does not have a mathematical relationship with 68, it does with 6 and 8 because it is the 21st prime number, and the 6th triangular number and the 8th Fibonacci number is 21. And the way you know that's important is because the Warriors this season just beat the Spurs and got to 21 and 21, and they made a big deal about there being 68,000 fans. And also after this game, the Grizzlies are picking up the 2 pi numbers for an away record, 16 and 25. And again, those are the values of pi in gematria. And the only other thing I wanted to note about this game is that Steph picked up his 329th career win all time, including playoffs, after this game. Now, to proceed with the numbers associated with 38, I'm going to start with his logo, which is just 148, as you see here in front of you. This was, I believe, a tweet about Steph being gifted a death row chain, and again, you have to ask yourself, why do they need to video him getting this? And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The operative word is death. And when you decode the statement, Snoop gifted Steph a death row chain, you get a value of 148. This was another tweet, and as you can see in the picture, he's strategically placed next to the logo, which is just a 148. And when you decode the statement, you get a value of 857, and that is important because that is the 148th prime number. This is Steph Curry's shoe, and he is known to write this on a shoe. It's a reference to Philippians 4:13. I can do all things. And again, when you decode it, you get a value of 148. Now, this is an interview he did on August 5th of 2022, last year, and that is the day leaving 148 days left in the year. But he also has that trendy celebration called Night Night, and I also thought it was interesting that if you write the date out, like how it reads, 85, it's a perfect match with Night Night, his celebration. And you also notice in this interview, he's strategically placed in between the two 148s. Yeah. It's also important that he started this celebration in a game against the Nuggets, and you'll see that theme because Colorado has a strong connection to the number 38, and the Nuggets are in Colorado. But that was also his 941st career game, which is just a mirror of 149. Now, Steph attended a Major League Baseball game where he threw out the first pitch, and there's 162 games in an MLB season, and he just happened to go to the one where the Athletics picked up their 38th win. And while the Athletics are winning, getting their 38th, the Astros are picking up their 35th regular season loss and their 21st away loss. And the 35 is important because the 35th prime number is 149. And again, 21 has a relationship with 6 and 8. This is a very straightforward example of why 68 is important. There was a preseason game on October 13th of 2021 where the Mavericks defeated the Hornets by 68 points, and they did so while Mr. Curry was exactly 33 years and 7 months old. And again, the 68th prime number is 337. Now, while Steph was born at the same hospital as LeBron over in Ohio, he is from the Charlotte area where the Hornets are at. And for more 68, the 68th edition of the NBA All-Star Game was held in Charlotte. This was the All-Star Game from 2022 that took place on February 20th. And they had to get to 163 points to win the game. And that is the 38th prime number. And also in the game, Steph hit 16 threes, which you would just draw the number 163 out of that, the 38th prime number. And I also wouldn't look past the fact that Team Durant lost with 160 points, which is like the value of Wardell Curry in Gematria. Now, this is the Super Bowl that Steph attended, Super Bowl 50, and I'm just going to show you the pattern of numbers that I'm talking about. The Super Bowl was on the 38th day of the year, and he's from the Charlotte area, so that's why he's here. It's the Panthers and the Broncos. But Cam Newton, the quarterback for the Panthers, became the 58th quarterback to start in a Super Bowl. And Miller got MVP. And he wears number 58. And the Panthers also played in Super Bowl 38. But as you see here in front of you, as I mentioned earlier, Colorado has a strong relationship with 38 because it's the 38th state in order of statehood. And it has a gematria value of 38. And Panthers in the same cipher is 38. Now the MVP, Vonnie Miller, has a gematria value of 148, and Peyton Manning, the guy who won the Super Bowl, has a value of 68. Now, to get into why this pairing of numbers is important, 160 and 61, this wouldn't necessarily be a standard practice in gematria, merging these two numbers, but I'm going to show you that it is important, and I'm going to show you just how important it is to Steph. If you merge these two numbers together, you would get a value of 16,061. And that is important because it has a mathematical relationship with 285. So I told you before, Steph was born on the first day we started celebrating Pi Day, and the mathematical values associated with pi have followed him throughout his career. Just like I showed you in gematria, pi equals 25. On the most pi day of the century, 3/14/15, which is just the first 5 digits of pi, Steph actually scored 25 points. So these numbers have often followed him throughout his career, but 22 divided by 7 is a way to calculate pi. And everyone is familiar with the first 3 digits, 3.14, but the next 3 after would be 2, 8, and 5. And the 285th prime number is 1,867. And the 1,867th prime number is 16,061. Now I'm going to go about showing you just how important these numbers are to his career. Now, to start with the 16,061, here's some examples. First of all, you have his name. He was featured in the Grand Theft Auto game. This is a guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's on the training staff for him. The only Super Bowl he attended, the Panthers and the Broncos, they scored 34 points in that game. And I'm not aware of any other numbers that equal these two values in gematria. Cam Newton was the quarterback for the Panthers. He's been featured in Rolling Stone articles. And this one right here, when asked about a Kevin Durant return to the Warriors, he said he would be never hesitant. And I do believe these athletes are prompted to say certain things. I've heard Steph refer to himself as the Petty King. And there's also an article where it says he crashed a party to chug Bud Lights. This one was an interview before this season where Steph said the championship glow is real. And again, I think that they are prompted to say these things, but in gematria that has a value of 285, which has the relationship with 16,061. And this season the Cavaliers hit a record of 10-6 and 6-1, and that's really the only record you can have that's a representation of these values. And also in this game, it's their 61st head-to-head game against the Heat at home, and they're picking up their 35th win to get this record. And again, the 35th prime number is 149, like the value of 38 when written out as a word. Also, after the game, the Heat's record away is 1-6, just like pi 16. Now, to show you just how important this number 285 is, this was Steph's 285th career win. And some of you may remember this game because some people call it the greatest regular season game of all time, where Steph essentially came down and shot the three, and it was essentially a game-winning shot. It was like from 30 feet or something. And this is why the number 285 is relevant, because not only is it his 285th career game, the Warriors are coming into this game with the record of 28-5 before the win. And the Thunder's record after is essentially just a shuffle of 285. Now, also in this game, you have the pairing of 73 and 46, because the Warriors are picking up 53 and 29 for the regular season win and their away win. And if you merge those numbers together, 5,329, that has a square root of 73. And again, Steph is scoring 46 in this game, so you have the pairing of the two numbers that pertain to sacrifice. And it's also important to note that on this day, Steph is getting his 285th career win, and the date reads like 22/7. 227, the key digits. And just as I just presented, 22 divided by 7 is 3.14285. And they also had to report that this is the best record through a 58-game span. And the reason why they did so is because that is the value of 38 when written out as a word. This was the Warriors' most recent White House visit, and it was on January 17th. And these two characters here are holding out 46 and 1. And if you know what you're looking at, it's clear right away. This is a reference to Genesis 46 verse 1, which is a very important sacrificial verse, and it is why I'm also uploading this video on this day, 1/26. And if you doubt that, this box score to the right is Steph's 461st career game, like 46-1. And they're beating the team from Philadelphia. Philadelphia gets its name from Revelation of the Bible. And after the game, the 76ers record is 7-41. And you would just read that as 741. That is the 38th triangular number, that infamous number that has the heavy relationship with death. And that is everything. I do hope for the best. Thank you for listening. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.